got our postseason program update in MLB The Show 22, and we got some studs to talk about. Thus why we are back with a tier list Tuesday on a Friday. Before anyone says anything, yes, it is Friday, not a Tuesday, but I do want to do these tier lists on Friday for now, because it seems like a lot of our content will be dropping on Fridays. You see, on our content schedule on the calendar, the Fridays are the days we're getting our postseason program, so we got our division series stuff. Then on the 28th, 1 week from now, we're going to have the championship series and the Goats and Ghouls program with some other legend and flashbacks, it seems. So it seems like Friday will be our content for next week as well. And then November 4th is also a Friday. So we'll do tier list Tuesdays on Friday, and we'll do that since that is when we're getting our content. And if you did not know, this is the postseason program we have in the game since we have not covered it on the channel here. All you need to do is complete a bunch of moments, then complete PXP missions with the teams and players involved. The wild card cards took me about an hour and a half, while the other ones like the division series took me about 3.5 hours because there were a lot more cards. But the good news is this should be the longer part of the grind because this has the most amount of teams. There are 4 teams that got eliminated. So going through the content we got this week, we got some studs to talk about like Trea Turner, Luis Castillo, and so on. So let's hop on into it. So if you remember the previous tier list Tuesday, we revamped our tier list because at this point in the game, it's starting to get tough to decide who to use on your team. And you're really starting to decide between really like 98, 99 overall players usually. Thus why there are way less players than we used to have. But with our players that we have right now at catcher here, the catchers you probably want to use are going to be in the A tier and above. Ideally, S and S plus tier, very likely. I think all the guys in the S plus tiers have a purpose, you know? But again, don't treat your S and S plus tiers that much differently. They're honestly pretty similar in my book. And then as you see in our A tier there, I got Travis d'Arnaud. Pretty good hitter versus lefties, not that great versus righties, no real quirks to really help him out, but a fun little catcher for you Braves fans. The ever so stacked first base position, we gotta talk about Josh Naylor there, the F tier. Not that he's a bad card, but he's just good versus righties. He's not even 125 versus rights, so not even that good in comparison to other guys. But, you know, if you want to do the little, well, then you could do that with Josh Naylor. But I don't recommend him that much. We got other postseason guys like Juan Yepez, Jock, and Travis d'Arnaud in the B tier, and along with Matt Olson. But on Hall of Fame, where I'm really critiquing these cards, you don't bring enough hitting to really warrant using them, especially when you're going to be facing some top tier pitching. So I have a tough time recommending them. Then as you work your way up, I still keep the S plus tier the exact same. You ideally want to use one of those 4, but also guys like Ryan Howard, Jim Edmonds, and such are still very good. And keep an eye on that back end of the S tier though. Guys like Lou Gehrig might be off there very soon. We slide over to second base, and we just got to talk about the man himself, Trea Turner. He's got reverse splits versus righties. He's got solid attributes versus left. 106.98 may not seem that impressive, but he's going to have diamond defense at short. You'll get diamond defense at second after a few parallels. He has 99 speed. Really what makes Trea Turner so good, like the attributes look very solid, it's the quirks. Since this is like a finest card, where he gets a bunch of live series active quirks, and Trea Turner arguably gets the most quirks, he's going to be a top tier option at every position he can play. Preferably middle infield and center field, because that is where the speed becomes really valuable. And I really want to focus on him, because I talked about Trea Turner a ton last year, his All-Star Game card and then his finest card. He's just a menace. His cards are always one of the top cards. So if you're looking for a middle infielder, please try this card. So in terms of the tier list, I put him in the S plus tier, because if you're going to use that speedy middle infielder, he's going to be the guy to use. He got the best mix of contact, power, speed, and defense, along with those quirks to really boost up those hitting attributes. I would rather use him than Soriano. It's also pretty tough. You might like one of those dudes, and they're still going to be very good. Everyone in that S and S plus tier are likely going to be the second baseman you are using. And then when we switch over to shortstop, again, there isn't that much change here, but we still got to mention that Trea Turner and Kike Hernandez, who is worth mentioning, are both going to be top options there. It's definitely one of those positions where you don't have that Hank Aaron with incredible power, for example. There is not that incredible hitting overall. So that's why something like Barry Larkin is valuable if you feel like you need power in your lineup. Or, you know, Kike is a better shortstop, in my opinion, than a second baseman, because there is definitely less of a premium for power. Slide over to second base. There are a couple guys that can hit for some good home run power. But yeah, in terms of shortstop, man, I mean, I think Jimmy Rollins is a dude, but you could really get away with anyone in the S and S plus tier, and even the A tier at his current point in the game. They're going to be more than good at this point. Slide over to third base. There was not really any new third base content this week. I should mention Trea Turner again is a top player at that position, but third base is not a position where I think you need the speed. I don't think there's that much value in having that slappy contact type hitter. I lean towards getting power here. That's why my S plus tier is the way it is, but it comes down to preference yet again in the players that you like, so you may have different tastes in who your S and S plus tier would be. But overall, third base is stacked yet again this year, and we have plenty of options now with those postseason cards and secondaries being added. We got a lot of outfielders this week, so I want to kind of try to play a little slower with this tier list right now. As we work our way up, you see our lower tiers are definitely the more so platoon cards or the players that just aren't bringing enough hitting. As we work our way up bit by bit though, our B, A, and S plus tiers, likely the A, S, and S plus tiers are going to be your outfielders right now. The B tier are even like 99 overalls that are just way lower tier 99s. But our A, S, and S plus tier all bring some sort of value, whether it's a center fielder, the guys with speed are usually best in center, or the guys with power, which are better off in the corner outfield. But I think Griffey is the guy in center field for sure, but you have versatility. If you want to get Trea Turner out there, you could play Trea in center and move Griffey to the corner. If you want to get more power, go for Vlad or Babe. Aaron Judge is incredible. Aaron Judge would honestly be right here for me, but I do recognize that everyone loves Judge. But also, I did decide I put Andrew McCutchen in that S plus tier. At first, I took him out, but I did kind of realize after reading some of your comments, may have been a little bit of hindsight. I think Griffey's the dude, but there is value in having McCutchen, who's got the well-rounded stuff. Starting pitching. As you will see, I changed my mind about Randy Johnson. Having actually tested Bob Gibson and Chris Sale, I feel like a lot of people will still find more success with Randy Johnson. I did want to move him down here because I did think seeing that featured program, Bob Gibson and Chris Sale had a case of being potentially more valuable than Randy, but having actually used him for a bit and getting a feel for Gibson and Sale, I don't think they're going to be cards that everyone likes. It's going to be very good, and most people will find success with them, but chances are you may not love them. These might not be your type of pitcher, and those guys in the S tier are on paper very good, just might not be that type of dude for everyone. So for me, Randy, I'm going to move back into the S plus tier because I do find more people to be successful with them. But like I said, if you get some really good finest cards that have some really stacked attributes, like a Corbin Burns, for example, card like that will definitely cause Randy to be bumped down to at least the S tier. But as you see in that S tier, I do have Luis Castillo as well. He's got the outlier sinker, 114 hits per 9. This is like a finest level card. Not gonna be lights out like a Randy Johnson, for example, but if you like the 97 All-Star, you will like this one. He's a straight upgrade. And then we got our relief pitchers. And in terms of the postseason program, you do got to be a little wary because there are some different tiers of relievers. Paul Sewald, for example, just doesn't have enough to be a top reliever. I honestly might put him in this level of F tier with guys like Pete Fairbanks and Alexis Diaz. He just doesn't feel like he has enough on his stuff to be viable. But I don't know. I feel like his motion's at least a little bit quirky. Could be a little bit beneficial in the D tier, but no more than that. As you work your way up, though, I've got Yency Almonte in the A tier. He's like an Jorge Lopez type pitcher with a good sinker, I think. In our S tier, I have George Kirby. He's got the outlier sinker. He's got a slower cutter. He's got a little bit more velocity. So if you're someone who likes openers, it'd be a very viable opener to go to because you could consistently pitch with him 2 innings with his 40-something stamina. And he's got sinker cutter, which a lot of people like to pitch with. So I know I kind of went through the list a little quickly. I should summarize it for you. If you are going into that postseason program wondering which cards you should target to actually find a way to use them, and the ones that are maybe more so back burner, cards that you may not actually want to use, this is the postseason content tier listed. In your D tier, guys like McKenzie and Paul Sewald, you know, they are high overall pitchers. McKenzie's a 99. You might be able to use him, but he doesn't have enough to really get swings and misses and to really be super quirky. So if you're playing good hitters on Hall of Fame, they're gonna kick his tuchus. Even not so good hitters may. In the C tier, guys like Naylor and Yasmani could get use, but they have more of a niche purpose. You know, Grandal is very slow. but is always a fun type hitter. And then Josh Naylor is more so of a bench bat. In the B tier, Tyler Anderson does have sinker cutter, but I don't think he's as good as some of the other guys. Matt Olson is all right, lacking contact. Siri is like a card that feels like he should have dropped a couple months ago. And Yepes and Edman, you know, aren't bad. Jock and Darno and Nimmo and all those guys in the A tier definitely have some sort of a purpose. Like if your team lacks depth, you could definitely use them, and you need players in those positions. They are more than viable. They're just not going to be top tier options. S tier, definitely the guys that I think have a purpose. You know, Castillo, you could try as a starter. George Kirby has some viability in the bullpen. And then Teoscar is viable as a bench bat versus lefties. But again, they don't feel like must uses because they're players that do what they do. Probably very similar, if not just as good as them. But our S+ tier feel like guys you probably should find a way to try. You need a middle infielder, a center fielder. Trea Turner or Kike Hernandez are going to be a guy to try. And if you have not used any cards of theirs before, they are great cards to try if you're looking for that contact type hitter for your lineup. Whew. That was a lot for a tier list Friday. That sounds so stupid. But I appreciate you all watching. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed this tier list. I do plan on making content like my previous video about Jacob deGrom, so make sure you sub to that. You all have a great rest of your day. I love your faces. I'll see you all again on the next one. Deuces.